In the year 1936, a cryptic letter arrives in London, signed only as A.B.C. The chilling overture begins, orchestrated by an unseen hand. Hercule Poirot races against time, deciphering cryptograms and unmasking the killer's twisted motives. Can he silence the deadly score before the final curtain falls? Hastings stepped off the train, his senses adjusting to the familiar sights and sounds of London. The bustling platform, the shrill whistle of departing locomotives. It was good to be back. As he walked toward the exit, memories flooded his mind. The Argentine sun, the dusty streets of Buenos Aires, and the warmth of Maria's smile, all now distant echoes. He missed her, but duty called him home. Waiting at the station was Hercule Poirot, his neatly waxed mustache twitching in anticipation. The Belgian detective had a knack for timing, as if he sensed when his friend needed him most. Poirot wasted no time. "Hastings," he said, "we have a new case, a perplexing one." He handed over a cryptic letter, signed simply A.B.C. The alphabet killer was on the loose, and so Hastings' return to London marked the start of a chilling investigation. The alphabetical murders would test their wits, unravel secrets, and lead them down dark alleys. But one thing was certain: Poirot's little gray cells were already at work. Poirot placed the letter on the polished mahogany desk. Its paper was crisp, the ink black as midnight. The envelope bore no address, only the ominous initials. A.B.C. Hastings leaned in, squinting at the elegant handwriting. "What does it say, Poirot?" Poirot unfolded the letter, revealing its cryptic contents. "My dear Hastings," he read aloud, "prepare yourself. A crime shall occur in Andover. The alphabet guides my hand." Hastings's pulse quickened. "But what does it mean?" Poirot's eyes gleamed. "The killer is methodical, mon ami. Each victim's initials will match the letter of their town. A, B, C, the alphabet unfolds. And so, with the scent of danger in the air, Poirot and Hastings set off for Andover. The game had begun and the stakes were life and death. Alexander Bonaparte Cuss sat by the window, the flickering candle casting shadows on the faded wallpaper. His heart raced as the postman's footsteps echoed in the corridor. The letter, an invitation, cryptic and urgent, had arrived. Cuss broke the crimson wax seal, revealing an emblem, a serpent coiled around a quill. The words danced before his eyes. "Join us at the Crossroads Inn. Midnight. Bring your secrets." Cuss packed a worn leather satchel, a notebook, a silver pocket watch, and a lock of hair, the only memento of a lost love. He wondered about the Crossroads Inn, its location hidden, its purpose unknown. But Cuss was no stranger to enigmas. He thrived on them. As the clock struck 11, Cuss stepped into the moonlit street. The air smelled of damp earth and anticipation. The Crossroads Inn awaited, a nexus of fate where choices led to destinies unknown. And so, with the echo of distant footsteps, Alexander Bonaparte Cuss embarked on a journey that would unravel secrets, challenge beliefs, and redefine his existence. Poirot paced the room, his patent leather shoes tapping a staccato rhythm. The telephone, a black bakelite instrument, interrupted his thoughts. Inspector Japp's voice crackled through the receiver. "Mon ami," Japp said, "we have a murder in Andover. A tobacco shop owner, Alice Asher, strangled. Initials match the letter A. The alphabet killer, Poirot." Poirot's mustache twitched. "Merci, Japp. I shall be there post-haste." He hung up, his mind already dissecting the clues. The alphabet guided the killer's hand, but what motive lay hidden behind the letters? Hastings, ever loyal, stood by the door. "Andover, Poirot?" Poirot adjusted his bow tie. "Indeed, my friend. The game is afoot." And so, with the scent of tobacco and intrigue in the air, Hercule Poirot stepped into the world of the alphabet murderer. Alice Asher's tobacco shop nestled on a quiet corner. The air hung heavy with the scent of cured leaves, sweet, earthy, and tinged with memories. Regulars shuffled in, seeking solace in their pipes. Alice, a stout woman with graying hair, stood behind the counter. Her eyes held secrets, the kind that accumulated over years of measuring out tobacco, listening to whispered confessions, and watching life unfold on the cobblestone streets. Her husband, George, haunted the back room. His breath reeked of cheap gin and his hands trembled as he counted coins. Alice shielded him from judgment, her love a fragile barrier against the world's cruelty. But fate had other plans. The alphabet killer's shadow crept closer. Alice's initials matched the letter A. The tobacco-scented haven would soon become a crime scene, a place where secrets unraveled and innocence bled. And so, as dusk settled over Andover, the tobacco leaves whispered their warnings, and Alice Asher unknowingly stepped into the killer's twisted game. Poirot and Hastings stood in the dimly lit shop. The scent of tobacco hung heavy, mingling with the tension. Alice Asher's lifeless body lay behind the counter, her eyes wide with shock. Hastings pointed to the overturned chair. "Strangled," he said. "And the initials, AA." Poirot examined the shelves, noting the neatly arranged tobacco tins. "The killer left no trace," he murmured. "But the alphabet guides us." George, Alice's alcoholic husband, shuffled in. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands trembling. "She deserved better," he mumbled. Poirot's little gray cells whirred. "The letter A, our starting point. But why, Hastings? Why Alice?" And so, in the quiet of the tobacco shop, the investigation unfolded, a dance of clues, motives, and hidden patterns. Poirot unfolded the cream-colored envelope, its edges crisp. The ink, midnight black, formed elegant loops. "Bexhill-on-Sea," he read aloud. "Prepare for another crime." Hastings leaned over Poirot's shoulder. "But why, Poirot? Why this alphabetical madness?" Poirot's mustache twitched. "Betty Barnard," he said. "A young waitress. Her initials, B.B. The killer adheres to a pattern." And so, with the sea breeze whispering secrets, Poirot and Hastings boarded the train to Bexhill. The alphabet killer's game continued, a dance of life and death etched in letters. Bexhill's pebble beach stretched before them, waves whispering secrets. Betty Barnard, a young waitress, lay lifeless in her cozy cottage. Her apron still bore coffee stains, the remnants of her last shift at the seaside cafe. Hastings knelt by the body. "She was just a girl," he murmured. "Why, Poirot?" Poirot examined the room, the overturned chair, the shattered teacup. "The letter B, mon ami," he said. "The killer adheres to the alphabet. Betty's initials, BB." They interviewed the cafe regulars, the fisherman, the elderly couple who loved her smile, and the mysterious man who always sat in the corner, scribbling notes. Each held a piece of the puzzle. And so, as seagulls circled overhead, Poirot and Hastings unraveled threads of betrayal, love, and hidden desires, a tapestry woven in letters and blood. Megan Barnard, Betty's forthright sister, sat on the edge of the bed. Her eyes were red from tears, her voice steady. "Betty was more than a waitress," she began. "She had secrets." Megan described the stranger, the one who always sat in the corner of the cafe. "He watched Betty," she said. His eyes held hunger, but not for coffee. Megan handed Poirot a crumpled note. "Betty found this," she whispered. "It's from him. Cryptic, like the alphabet killer's letters." As Poirot read, the pieces fell into place. The stranger, the secret rendezvous, the alphabet killer's motive intertwined with love, betrayal, and obsession. And so, Megan's forthrightness shed light on Betty's tangled relationships, a web that led to tragedy on the pebble-strewn shores of Bexhill. Poirot paced, his mind a labyrinth of letters. "Hastings," he said. "The killer's pattern, A, B, C, it is not random. It is deliberate." "But why, Poirot?" Hastings asked. "Why this macabre alphabet?" Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Every murder carries a message. The killer selects victims with purpose. Perhaps revenge, hidden grudges, or a twisted sense of justice. And so, As the moon cast shadows on Poirot's Persian rug, the detective vowed to decipher the alphabet killer's reasoning. For behind the letters lay a motive, a heartbeat pulsing through the darkness. Detective Inspector Canning leaned back in his creaky chair, eyeing the evidence board. "Poirot," he said, "this alphabet nonsense, it's absurd." Hercule Poirot adjusted his bow tie. "Absurd, perhaps," he replied, "but not without purpose. The killer leaves breadcrumbs, mon ami." Canning scoffed. "Breadcrumbs? We deal in facts, not fairy tales." Poirot's little gray cells hummed. "The alphabet guides us," he said, "and soon Scotland Yard will see." And so, amid skepticism and raised eyebrows, the hunt for the elusive A.B.C. murderer continued. A dance of logic and intuition, where letters held the key to unraveling darkness. Churston lay nestled in mist, its thatched cottages half hidden. Poirot and Hastings arrived, their breaths forming clouds. The third letter, the ominous C, weighed on their minds. In the cozy pub, they met the locals, the innkeeper, the old sailor, and the reclusive artist. Each held fragments of the puzzle. "Sir Carmichael Clark," they whispered. "The doctor." Sir Carmichael, respected and aloof, lived in the Grand Manor. His wife, bedridden, rarely left her room. Poirot sensed hidden currents, medical journals, locked drawers, and a portrait with eyes that followed. As midnight approached, Poirot paced the cobbled streets. The alphabet killer's shadow loomed. "Churston," he murmured. "The letter C. Our next move awaits." And so, in the quiet of the fog, the countdown began, a race against time, where clues intertwined with fate. Poirot ascended the marble steps, the fog clinging to his coat. Sir Carmichael's manor loomed, a fortress of secrets. The door creaked open, revealing dimly lit corridors and hushed whispers. In the oak-paneled study, Sir Carmichael lay sprawled, his once immaculate suit now crumpled, his eyes vacant. The letter C mocked them, the killer's signature. Hastings clenched his fists. "Why, Poirot? Why this brilliant doctor?" Poirot examined the medical texts, the inkwell, and the framed diploma. "The alphabet," he said, "holds the key." Sir Carmichael's knowledge, his sins, led him to this fate. And so, as the clock chimed midnight, Poirot vowed to unravel the doctor's enigma, a dance of intellect and mortality. Poirot sat at his mahogany desk, the alphabet letters spread before him. "Hastings," he said, "the killer's method is precise." Poirot traced the pattern, a macabre dance of initials. A.B.C., he murmured. Alice Asher, Betty Barnard, Sir Carmichael Clark. Hastings leaned in. "But why, Poirot? What drives this madness?" Poirot's eyes gleamed. "The alphabet," he declared, "is the canvas. The killer paints their story, one victim at a time. And so, with each letter, Poirot followed the twisted path. A detective's waltz through darkness and logic. Poirot's candle flickered, casting elongated shadows. The alphabet A.B.C. haunted him. "Hastings," he said, "we are close." Hastings leaned over the map, tracing lines from Andover to Bexhill, then Churston. "The killer's path," he whispered. Poirot's gaze fixed on the typewriter. "D," he said. "The next victim awaits." And so, as the clock ticked, the alphabet killer's game reached its climax. A symphony of letters, unraveling lives, and Poirot's little gray cells racing against fate. Poirot stood, his cane tapping the cold floor. The alphabet killer, hooded eyes gleaming, faced him. "You're too late," the killer hissed. "D is done." Poirot's voice cut through the tension. "D," he said, "for dominance. You sought power, control. Each victim, a pawn in your twisted game." The hood fell, revealing a familiar face, the reclusive artist from Churston. "I painted their fates," he confessed. A canvas of suffering. Poirot's gaze held no mercy. "Your masterpiece ends here," he declared. "Justice, not alphabet, guides us." And so, in the moon's cold embrace, Poirot unmasked the killer, a symphony of intellect, vengeance, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Poirot sat by the fireplace, the manuscript before him. His quill hovered, ready to inscribe the truth, the unraveling of the alphabet killer's web. The artist, unmasked as Charles Dunning, awaited trial. His canvas, lives extinguished, letters etched in blood, would haunt the courtroom. As the jury deliberated, Poirot's little gray cells danced. "Justice," he whispered, "is our final letter." And so, in the quiet of his study, Hercule Poirot penned the last chapter, a symphony of intellect, justice, and the relentless pursuit of truth.